Chris Milton with Project Health and Wellness, and I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. And today I have a co-host.
Hi everyone, my name is Nicole Rogers. I'm happy to be a guest here on the show with Project Health and Wellness with Chris.
Yeah. So today we're going to talk about mental illness and depression, and what do we do when we go through some challenging times in life? Like, how do we overcome those moments when we just feel like giving up? And Nicole, I'm sure you've had to deal with some times where it was extremely difficult, and we all have our ways of coping with our trials and tribulations. And as some of you all know, I had a battle with depression for a few years, and Nicole's going to ask some question type answer formats about what I experienced and just where I am with it today, and just some words of encouragement for anyone out there that could be dealing with depression or feeling sad or whatever the case may be. I think it's important for us to be proactive. If we're not proactive in our mental health, we can get down very quickly, even from, let's say, a relationship that you was in and the relationship didn't work out, and you find yourself feeling sad, and that sadness can turn into depression. But before we get into the question answers, I appreciate everybody that's tuning in, and hopefully y'all be able to get some words of wisdom from my experience. But I just want to read some statistics real quick about depression. And depression and suicide is very dear to my heart, as some of y'all might know. But 14.8 million adults are affected by depression. And that's 6.7% of the U.S. population age 18 and older. And while major depressive disorders can develop at any age, the median age is 32 years old. So right around that 32-year-old range is when the depression onset comes about. And as many as 1 in 33 children and 1 in 8 adolescents have clinical depression. And it's sad if you know a child that has depression. I mean, you think about when you was a kid. I mean, did you ever think about depression? Were you ever sad?
No, not as a young child, but as you develop, life circumstances happen,
right.
Especially in high school when you go through adolescent stage, you have bullies, things like that. Different circumstances can pop up. So,
right.
But as
right.
a small child, you're happy, go lucky, and gleeful.
Right. And it's unfortunate, especially when you hear a child that's going through depression or even suicide. Now, the annual age suicide rate is 13.26 per 100,000 individuals, and men die 3.5 times more often than women. And on an average, there are 121 suicides per day. So think about that, 121 people take their lives each day from suicide. And white males account for 7 out of the 10 suicides in 2015. And firearms account for almost 50% of all suicides. That's serious. That is very serious. 121 people per day. And we never know what someone's going through. And I'm very cautious when I approach people, because I like to call triggers. And you never know when somebody could get triggered. That could set them off. And so we have to be conscious of that. And suicide is the 10th leading cause of death in the United States, and 44,965 deaths per year for every 25 attempts. And it costs the U.S. $51 billion per year for suicide prevention. So now we're going to jump into the question and answer. So you had a chance to hear some statistics, and it's serious. And if you've ever faced depression, or you know someone that has faced depression, then you know how serious it is. And things could be going great one day, and then the next moment, you're sad. And then that sadness could lead to depression. So, Nicole, you're going to ask me some questions about my experience and how I was able to get through depression.
Yes, I have a couple that jotted down here for you.
Okay.
So actually, first of all, before we even get on the topic of talking about you and your struggles with depression, I want to ask, do you know or have you known anyone who has battled with depression? And then also, if so, what was their outcome?
Well, some of y'all know my father. He ended up committing suicide when I was 2 years old. And I didn't get a chance to know my father, but based off of what my mom told me, he had a dark period in his life. He had his own magazine company, and things just wasn't going well. He was also a police officer for a few years, and so he was under a lot of stress. Now, the interesting aspect about my father is that in his magazines, he used to talk about self-help and being able to manage stress. And so unfortunately, he ended up taking his life at the age of 33. I also had a really good friend of mine. His name was Brian, and he took his life at 33. And both of those suicide acts were by gun.
Okay. It was very interesting. You mentioned the age of both of them were 33 years old, which according to the statistics you just read, 32 was around the average time when, depression onsets and those things start happening. So,
yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you for sharing that.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Let's go on to the second question, which is going to be, when was your first experience with depression and how did the feeling of depression develop?
Well, I first noticed it when I was a kid. I was always sad, and I was picked on a lot in school. And I felt down. I didn't feel like I had a purpose. And even at 13 years old, there was thoughts of, I won't say suicide, but question of why am I here? But then as I got older and life happened, then that's when it really set in for me. Things wasn't going well. Financially, I was struggling. Relationships were up and down. My career was very stressful at the time. And it just hit me like a ton of bricks. It's like everything just came down all at once, and I didn't know how to handle it. I mean, it was just to the point where, and I use this description all the time, it's like somebody was putting their foot on my chest, and I couldn't breathe. Like my whole day-to-day changed. So it was between the ages of 25 and 27 that I felt that depression. But it first started off with anxiety, and I had a lot of anxiety issues too, just very anxious, and then it led into the depression.
Okay, so anxiety. So with that being said, how did you feel when you were in a depressive state of mind? I know you mentioned anxiety was kind of like the starting point, but as the depression progressed, what did you feel, or what were your feelings?
I felt sad. I felt sad. The things that I used to enjoy doing, I didn't enjoy doing them. Because, I like to work out. I wasn't working out. My conversations changed. I always wanted to be to myself. Like, I never wanted to go out. I would go to work, come home, and that was that. My eating habits changed. I wasn't hungry. I always sat in really deep thought, and was trying to figure out a way to get out of it. And as being a man, most men know that when you're dealing with something, you don't want to let anybody know. And I'm not the type of person to share my feelings. And so for a long time, I was dealing with it on my own. And I noticed that I just began to withdraw from people.
Okay. Let's see. So with your feelings, I wonder, how did your father's suicide, affect you in that way? Did it have, of course, it had a hand in what you were going with in the present state, but how did that affect you specifically, your father's suicide?
Well, of course, growing up with my father not being there, it affected me socially, because you only imagine when you're growing up, you don't have a father. And I played basketball in high school and in middle school. And then not having a father there was impactful, because I saw all the other kids that had their fathers there. When I was growing up, the doctors wanted to make sure that I didn't follow in my father's footsteps. So they did a little bit of intervention for me. But it was tough. It was tough not having a father figure. But thankfully I had a mom that was able to balance out fairly well for me.
Okay,
yeah.
That's good. So with what were some of the things you used to cope with, or more specifically, how did you overcome depression, or what were your strategies? I know you said that there were interventions that happened. Your mother, was a very strong pillar in that. Right. So what were some other things?
I have to say spirituality.
Okay.
My mom, we started praying together very young. I started when I was 14. I used to pray with my mom, and it was, that helped me go back to the root. When I was dealing with the depression, I felt that no one could help me, but God. And I don't know if, I'm sure some of y'all out there are spiritual, y'all go to church or religion or whatever the case may be, but I believe that there's a higher power, and I wouldn't be sitting here today if it wasn't for my spirituality. At the time I was going to church, but I wasn't actively involved the way I needed to be. I wasn't reading my scriptures. I was living I want to say a double life where, I was out, and then I was, coming to church occasionally, but not really fully engaged. Okay. So when I was going through that, I leaned on my scriptures. One of those Hebrew 11 and Proverbs chapter 3. And, listening to Christian music to lift my spirits up. That was a lot of the intervention that I did for myself. Mm-hmm. And, one day I remember I was sitting in my car and I was getting ready to go into the gym, and I just broke down and started crying because I knew that in order for me to get through this, that God was going to have to get me through. And of course my mom, one day she saw me and she was like, "Chris, don't do anything crazy." And I was like, all right. I knew then that I had to get it together. So I think that week I ended up rededicating myself to the Lord, and I knew that it was going to be a battle, from that point going forward. But I have to honestly say that my spirituality helped, having a really strong support group helped, and then I also went to go seek counseling too. Okay. And that helped. So it was a combination of different interventions that helped.
Good points. All right. So other thing I have on here is, what words of encouragement can you give to someone that's feeling down or who's dealing with major depression?
Be proactive. If you know that you are emotionally sensitive, like some of us are really emotionally sensitive, it doesn't take much for us to start crying, or if something happens, it can completely disrupt our lifestyle. That's why I speak so highly on mind, body, and spirit, because having that experience of going through depression, I understand how important it is to have a balance. And I know there's some people that are not really big into the whole spiritual aspect, but I'm telling you, if you ever find yourself in a tough predicament, let's say it was a relationship that you was in and the relationship ended, or let's say you're someone that wants to get married and it hasn't happened yet. Physically and working out can only take you so far, but that's when you have to dig deep into your spirituality and lean on that. I think unfortunately we don't. I believe the suicide rate is so high because we wait to the last minute. There are signs that you can tell within yourself. I think it's important for us to do assessments, to sit down and really evaluate where you are mentally, physically, and spiritually, so it won't creep up on you. The other aspect of having good balance with mind, body, and spirit is we all know that life is going to happen. Mm-hmm. We know that death is going to happen. We know tragedy is going to happen. We know relationships are going to break up. How many times have you heard married couples married for 25, 30 years and one of the spouses decides to leave, and now the other spouse is depressed and they don't know how to cope with that? So my best words of encouragement and advice would be to be proactive. Like, don't wait until you get to that point where you are so down that it's going to take an act of God to get you back up. And that's why I speak on this, and I will do it until the day I die, is that it's important that we have balance in our lives, and just to do the mental checks to see where you are mentally, because emotionally I was unstable. I was unstable emotionally. I was in a relationship. Matter of fact, one of the young ladies I used to date, she said, "Chris, you might want to get some counseling." And I laughed it off. I was like, yeah, whatever. But, looking back, she was right. And sometimes people can see things about you that you can't see, especially like your family. And so we have to make sure that we take heed to that. Mm-hmm. So that would be my best words of advice and encouragement, and just be proactive. Don't wait. The suicide rate is extremely high, and it's unfortunate, but I believe a lot of it's because there's just a lot of imbalance. We're just not balanced. Either we're working too much, or we're doing things that we don't need to be doing, and it's just causing us to tilt her over.
Thank you. That's a very, very important point. So, like the fact of you saying that you took what I'm hearing is that you took responsibility, for your own mental health well-being, that you took steps and you took the need within yourself to kind of recognize, hey, I need to go on this way. And then you also had an important, strong support group, which is very important because as I've heard, and most of you have probably heard, there's no man is an island. And so it's always very important to have that connection, that network of people there to support you. So thank you for sharing.
Oh, no, I thank you. And that's the reason why I created Project Health and Wellness, was to be able to voice my story. And I hope that someone out there will be able to get something from it. And if you know someone out there that is dealing with depression or just seems to be in a very just sad state for long periods of time, then reach out to them and just suggest for them to get some help. I remember a long time ago, and kind of a little bit of a funny story, but I went on a date with a young lady, and she asked me if I mind going over with her to her cousin's house. And so we pull up to her cousin's house, and I mean the grass wasn't cut, and the house just looked very unkept. And I remember we knocked on the door, and her cousin comes to the door and peeks out. It's like, well, who is that? And of course, the young lady's like, yes, it's your cousin. And we go inside the house, and it was completely dark in there. I mean, it was dark. She wasn't dressed. When you start seeing signs of someone not wanting to get out, or they're not grooming themselves, or they're at home, you can just tell they're not taking care of their home and themselves, then that's a problem. And that's when we have to jump in as friends or family and say, hey, listen, you need to get some help. Don't wait until the point where this person is now ready or contemplating suicide.
Yes. And another thing I mentioned, or that I heard you mention, was you did seek counseling. And actually, someone that you dated, you recommended that, and she kind of saw that, and she actually pointed out, and you took heed, and you actually eventually went to get counseling, which is a tough topic, especially in the African American community. We don't just talk about mental health issues and actually seeing counselors or doing counseling as a positive thing, but it's very beneficial and very, very strengthening to hear that you were able to go out, especially as an African American male, because most men aren't able, or not able, but kind of shy away from, going and seeing a counselor. Oh, I don't need counseling, or I can handle it on myself, by myself. But very encouraging. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, I think we have to humble ourselves, especially as men, because we want to be tough. I mean, I spent several years in law enforcement and had a chance to be on the SWAT team, so I've been around some tough guys. But behind closed doors, that's when it mattered. I mean, people looked at me, and at the time I was 240 pounds, and I was this athletic guy, but behind the doors I was hurting, and no one knew. So I just want to encourage again, like men out there, if you know a guy that's dealing with some type of depression, share this video with them. Just encourage them to get some help, because I know there's a lot of people out here that are going through it, and you got to have a great support group.
And actually, while we're talking about counseling, I know Chris mentioned that he did it, but as well, I also sought counseling while I was in college, because college, I was going through a tough period of time in my life, and I realized that, hey, the mindset or the mood that I was in wasn't, I wasn't, like Chris said, I didn't feel like myself. So counseling session at the college was free. I went ahead and took it upon myself to go up there and did a couple of sessions, because I also was struggling with anxiety and insomnia. So I was having trouble sleeping at night, probably school pressures, life, work, just the whole transition. But I can say that I've done that session in college, and I've also done it outside of, after I've graduated as well, just on a personal basis. And not only counseling when I felt sad or depressed, but I also did counseling for life progression, because counselors can also help with that as well if you want to transition to a new way of living, or if you're transitioning in any form of life. I think it's like either career, either personal, like if you're transitioning from marriage to from single to being married. Everyone knows and have heard of premarital counseling, but it's beneficial in all ways. So.
I agree, especially in relationships. I tell couples all the time, be proactive. I mean, don't wait till you start having issues and now we got to go get counseling. I mean, that's happened to me before. But if you wait to that point, then it's probably going to be too late. So I commend you as far as taking charge and seeking help. And there are people out here that can help. And thank God there are, because if it wasn't, I wouldn't be here. So,
thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. So I want to jump into this. So what do we do when we are struggling? Let's say you're not depressed, but you just don't feel peppy, or let's say you're trying to get your new year started by working out and hitting the gym, and you're just a little sluggish. So what do you do? Because I'm always curious to listen to other people, when they get into a rut, what do they do to get past that? Is it a mindset? Is it words of affirmation? I know we all have our ways of coping. So today I want to ask Nicole, and Nicole is probably one of the most cheeriest, happiest individuals that I know. I mean, every time I see her, she's always the same way. is, hey, how you doing, Nicole? I'm great. And that's energy. And I feed off of energy. And some of y'all that read my posts, I'll always start off with great morning, great Friday, great Saturday, because I feel that if we put that energy out there, then we're going to get that energy back. I think good morning is great, but I like to take it another step higher by saying great morning. So Nicole, I want to ask you a few questions. So we hit on the depression side, what to do if you're struggling with depression, what signs you need to look out for. But I'm sure a lot of people out there want to know, how do you maintain positivity? I mean, we're living in some negative times. There's a lot of things going on. So what do we do to keep ourselves encouraged? Let's say that I'm that person that wants to hit the gym and I just need some encouragement. So I have 5 questions for you, maybe 6 questions, and you can bless the whoever's watching just with some words of wisdom. So my first question is how do you maintain a positive attitude?
Okay. Well, the easiest way I maintain a positive attitude is I just try to be grateful for every moment.
Okay.
And I know that some things can happen or adversities can happen, but I kind of try to see either how is the situation I'm going through helping me to grow, what is there that I need to learn, and also just to be thankful for, whatever is coming to me. So especially it's easier to do when, you're getting good things, the good things are happening to you, to be grateful. And then most people tend to, push gratefulness really hard around Thanksgiving, but you should kind of encourage and do something to remind yourself of something you're grateful for at least every day. 2 or 3 times a week is probably more realistic, but just try to keep yourself in a grateful mindset. And then another way that I maintain a positive mindset is I am very, very firm about guarding what I let into my psyche. So I make sure that things that I read, what I listen to, what I watch, I kind of guard and make sure I don't let that infiltrate me. So like the news, I watch the news for informational purposes because I don't want to be naive. I want to know what's going on in the world, but I do not let it consume me because the news can be very negative. Like it's one of those things you kind of don't want to listen to too often, or your mindset will change, and you'll go from positive, happy to down, depressed, angry, frustrated, all in from 10 seconds to none. So basically, I just kind of filter that. I listen to what's out there. I take it in, I can make a note of it, but I don't let it fester. I don't let it consume me, and I don't rehash things.
Oh, nice.
So,
nice. Okay.
I'm human. Everyone's human. I have times where I'm angry, I'm frustrated, but I try to maintain a rule where if I'm frustrated about something, if I'm angry, I'll verbalize it because it isn't good. You have to honor all of your feelings and all your emotions. Okay. So I will verbalize, you have to speak to someone. So I'll talk to someone about the matter, what's bothering me, but I won't keep rehashing, or I won't keep bringing the topic up over and over again. And I don't, whatever I say to one person, I won't go around and keep telling it to this person, this person, this person, this person, because you have to remind yourself where you want to place your energy.
That's a great point.
So basically, if the energy you spend complaining or venting is the same energy you could be used to having positive results, creating solutions, things like that. So just kind of be mindful. Where do you want to place your energy? Filter and guard what you take into your mind, in what you're listening to, and also have an attitude of gratitude is the phrase that people like to use. But it's simple, but it's very helpful. It's very powerful as well.
That's nice. I like the part where you talked about guarding what comes into your being, your spirit, and I think a lot of times that can be really challenging, especially with the news and social media, and then being around certain people can affect your moods. I'm sure some of y'all have felt where you go to work, and even before you got to work, you was happy, but then the moment you ran into that coworker, that boss, then your mood changed automatically. I like to call those external factors, and we have to be cautious not to allow external factors to affect us to the point where it destructs our mood. That's a great point. Thank you so much. So do you have a set of rituals that you do to stay lifted?
Okay, rituals. I drink tea every morning. I love drinking tea. So when I wake up in the morning, I'll try to do something that relaxes me. Tea is my thing. I like to read I like to read a nice little devotional or a nice encouragement, something either I can Google really quickly or either I have a book. Right now I have a book that I'm reading that's 365 days of motivation or encouragement. So I'll have a book, I'll have my tea, I'll sit down for a little bit and kind of like just get my mind together. And that's how I typically try to start my mornings or listen to something inspirational. So kind of get you started, get you ready for the world.
So why is it important to start your morning off that way versus maybe getting up and listening to the news or like what's the difference?
It's the foundation. It's kind of like it's like resetting your mind or putting the seeds into your mind so that you can be prepared. So nothing against getting up in the morning and listening to Good Morning America, which actually is pretty good because they have some encouraging stories sometimes. But the news, just to in the morning kind of stay away from that. Otherwise, I personally try to stay away from it unless I'm trying to get information about traffic, and what's going on, or if I need to avoid stuff. But news in the morning, typically not. And then we all have cell phones, and if you're plugged in to things like Channel 2 News, CNN, you're going to get the alerts throughout the day anyway.
Right.
So, but in the morning, it's always good to set your mind in a positive place so that you can be ready to deal with whatever you have to deal with at work, whatever you have to deal with on the road. It just gets you in a better place. That and working out. So if I get myself up early enough, I'll try to get a run. I'll try to get a run in. I've been slacking recently, but that's okay. We'll get back to that later.
We all slack.
But in the mornings, a good stress reliever, something to pep up also, for me at least, is running in the mornings. 5 a.m., 5 a.m. is great. It gives me the adrenaline. It does something to me.
To the endorphins,
yeah. So it gives my energy high. I noticed that when I run in the morning, I'm more pleasant and agreeable at work and with situations that I have to deal with at work. So exercising in the morning, I strongly encourage and advocate for it. So devotional reading, work out in the morning.
Great. So at the end of the day, just start your morning off positive. I know some of us have that habit of turning over and reaching on the phones and scrolling through social media or looking at the news. And I'm a firm believer that whatever energy that we're putting in, if it's negative, then we're going to cast that out. And so I commend you. I mean, that's the way that we should start our morning. So kudos to you. And your next question is, like, what do you do to relieve your stress?
Okay. Well, like I mentioned before, I like exercising. Exercising is very good right now. Because I'm a member of South Fulton Running Partners, of course, I do the runs. So running is very beneficial. Yoga, and then also just having time to spend talking to my friends. So talking to your friends, spending time with friends is always a good stress reliever, and laughing. So I tend to joke around with my coworkers a lot. And they kind of, hey, there's Nicole, and I go and I greet everyone in the morning, and then greet people. I try to tend to smile a lot, and I say hey to random people on the street, but that all of that kind of brings a stress. It's a stress reliever to you because you're engaging with other people, and then also you're smiling and you're just in a better mood.
That's good. So it's almost like you fake it till you make it. So even if you don't feel the peppiest, I always say just smile, and then eventually you'll begin to feel it. So tell me a little about the South Fulton Running Partners real quickly, and what's your position there, and how does being in that community, how has that helped you with your fitness level?
Okay, well, South Fulton Running Partners, I've been a member since 2016. Okay. So that's when I became a member, and it was very good. The atmosphere of South Fulton Running Partners is pretty much like a family. And I joined or became involved with South Fulton Running Partners as a beginner runner. I just started doing maybe 4 or 5 miles there because I was trying to do more stress relief. That was my outlet for stress. And so I was running on a regular basis. But coming with them and coming to the fold, they were very encouraging. They gave advice. They really did take me in. And so it's always been a joy to be with them. My role right now with South Fulton, I am the membership coordinator for 2018. So I will be at the runs on Saturdays, and you'll see me there, and I'll be up there to greet everyone and make sure everyone feels welcome. But that's how the club is in general. Everyone, there won't be a stranger that comes into the circle. We huddle up, we get our fitness on, we fellowship, and it's just a great place to be. And I really enjoy being with South Fulton.
That's good. So if you're in the Atlanta area and let's say you want to come out to a run, what would they need to do
if they like to go to a run, there's a Facebook page, South Fulton Running Partners. If you just search for that, and you'll see our page on there, so you can follow South Fulton Running Partners. And then also we have an Instagram page, which should be listed on the Facebook page as well. So you can follow that and get connected. You can email the group, and then someone can send you email blast out to let you know that, hey, we're having a run this day. Come out and join us.
Right, so it's important. So if we're talking about fitness and health, community is important.
Mm-hmm.
I do believe we can't do it by ourselves, and it's important to have somebody that's going to hold us accountable. So
They'll definitely hold you accountable.
Oh yeah,
and they'll harass you and say, "Where were you this past Saturday?" Or "I didn't see you. Where have you been?" I have a couple of people who always stay on top of me and ask me where I've been, and they'll let you know. It's always a good motivation, a good push. Mm-hmm.
Good. So the last question: why, in your personal opinion, is it important to work on your mind, body, and spirit daily? Daily.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, the three of them go hand in hand and together. You can't separate one from the other.
Okay.
I'll just start now. I'll break them down by each one. Mind is what you mentioned first. So with me, mind is always important because most of the time, the mind is the creative process. Mm-hmm. So what you think and what you believe about certain things is what's liable to shape your life. So whatever you think, if it's a positive outcome, if you say, hey, I can do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to succeed, then you're going to succeed. Or if you have the mindset of saying, oh man, I'm not going to make it today, oh, I hate X, Y, Z, or this person is blah, 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 then all that negativity is going to surround your life, and that's what's going to be the outcome. Mm-hmm. So the mind is very important. Mm-hmm. It also, what you think usually comes out of your mouth. And so whatever you think is what you'll say, and words are powerful, we all know that. But you have to remember that the words that you speak start in your mind. So that's the starting point.
Excellent.
The next thing you said was what? Body?
Body. We
all have a body. You have to take care of it. That's the avenue that you have to get from here to there. You only get one. Is what that is. Mm-hmm. That is the truth of the fact. The matter of the fact. The fact. What is it?
The fact of the matter.
Yes, the fact of the matter. This is great. And I'm on live, so I cannot edit this, guys.
Yeah, no, it's okay. Keep flowing.
No. So I'm trying to bring just a little humor in it, so I'll be a little looser. But yeah, so your body, you have to take care of it. Mm-hmm. And be grateful that you have it, because there are certain parts of your body you don't realize is very important for you. You may not realize that you need this aspect or how important this piece of your body is, but it is. Every piece has a function that is very important for your health and for your development. Mm-hmm. And sometimes you won't realize it until something happens. Let's say if you are ill or you get an illness or then you recover, you're like, man, I didn't realize this was very important. So it's very important to pay attention to how you nourish your body, what you take into your body. Mm-hmm. And it's very important to make sure that you stay healthy and do the most that you can to stay healthy, because we all want to live long. That is the human goal of all of creation, is to have long, fruitful, and healthy life. Mm-hmm. And then the last piece was spirit. Yeah. Okay, spirit. We're all spiritual beings, and I think that spirit is an important factor, because spirit, in the essence, in the grand scheme of things, means that we're all connected in some way, form, or fashion to a higher power. And it doesn't matter, how you believe in this higher power, what you believe this higher power is. It's a connecting force. Absolutely. And it's the essence of everyone's soul. So the spirit, you have to nurture that. Personal experience, I remember I went through a time in college where I just didn't have any spiritual connection. I stopped going to the church I was attending at the time, and I just didn't have that connection. And then over a period of time, I realized that, hey, something's missing. And I know over time, some people have probably had that feeling as well, like, hey, something's missing. And as soon as you start whatever your spiritual regimen is, and whatever it is that you either, whether it's you read the Bible or the Quran, or if you chant, whatever it is, once you get connected back to that, you feel so much better. I've heard people, talk to me who don't go to church all the time. They say, hey, well, I feel so much better after I come back from whatever this teaching or whatever this service is. So you have to take a moment to realize and acknowledge that you are a spiritual being and that your spiritual life is important, if not the most important thing in the three.
So let me just ask you one last question, and then we'll conclude. Why do you think so many people don't want to touch into that aspect of the spiritual side? Like, what's your take on that? Because, like, for example, if we look at social media, there are a lot of posts on physical. People take selfies, and we share recipes. But then when it comes to the spiritual part, why do you think that's not like a really hot topic with a lot of people?
Actually, I think it depends on where you go, because some people it's very, very high on their top, on their list. Some people may shy away from it, but I think because of religion. And some people, because there's so many different denominations, so many different religions out there, and people may feel like they don't want to step on other people's toes and things like that, or either other people are very so gung-ho and strong about whatever their belief, what their belief system is as far as spirituality and religion is kind of overbearing. So some people kind of don't want to touch on it in that aspect. And then also, sometimes spirituality is a very unknown thing, because we're just trying to understand, the mass universe, the creator, the creation, all that, and we can't readily explain it. So maybe in my mind, maybe that's another reason why, because it isn't something that can just be easily explained. Like, you can't just say 1 + 1 = 2 with spirituality. It's just a very big aspect. There's a broad world for it.
Right. But overall, you feel this is still an important part of the human being.
Yes.
Okay. Nicole, I do appreciate it. Your words are very encouraging to me, and I hope you all were able to take maybe one good note on the words that she shared, as well as myself. But before I conclude, I want you to think about these points. It's a few of them. I'm not going to give you all of them, but these are just going to be some points to help you stay encouraged, to help you stay motivated. And the first one is only use positive words when talking. So if you don't feel good, try not to say you don't feel good. Say you feel great. And I go back to fake it till you make it. I'm a firm believer, if we speak it, then it will come into existence. Number 2, push out all feelings that aren't positive. So if you have negativity, find some way to push that out. For me, I'll go run, or I'll go lift weights, or I might pull out my Bible, or whatever the case may be. But if I know that I have some type of negativity that's building up, I find ways to release that. I think that is really important if you're in a relationship, because in a relationship, if you have negativity, that never settles well. So if you find yourself getting negative or feeling toxic, try to find ways to release that. Number 3, use words that invoke strength and success. I will do it. I can do it. I will succeed. Those words are important because when we say them, we believe them. And unfortunately, I don't know about you, but I don't have a big circle of people saying, "Go, Chris, you can do it. You can do this thing." I don't have that. So I have to make sure that I have it for myself. So use words of strength and success.
No try.
No try. I don't want to say, I'm going to try to lose weight. I'm going to try. I don't want to hear no try. You can do it. You have the will and the strength to do it. Number 4, practice positive affirmations. Positive affirmations are important. I have a notebook, and I have about 25 affirmations, which that might be a bit much, but I have 25 affirmations that I say to myself every morning and every night. And reason being is because between the morning and the night, there's so much that can go on. There's so much negativity that can happen to you. There's so much discouragement that can come in your path. For example, as I'm building my business and spreading the word of mind, body, and spirit, there's some times that I get discouraged. But I go back to my affirmations, and my affirmations make me feel better. Number 6, believe you will succeed. You have to believe it. I know we hear this all the time. There are a lot of motivational speakers out there. I don't consider myself a motivational speaker. I just like to just keep people encouraged. But one thing that I know a lot of motivational speakers speak of is that you have to believe it. If you don't believe it, it's not going to happen. If you don't believe you can lose that weight, you can get that job, you can get married, or you can start a business, then if you don't believe it, then nobody's going to believe it for you. And then also analyze what went wrong. So if you're in a relationship and it didn't pan out, think about what happened. I mean, I've been in a lot of relationships and they just have not worked out for whatever the reason. And I'll go back and I'll analyze. Okay, well, what did I do wrong? Instead of pointing at the other person. Okay, go ahead.
Oh no, it just reminded me of something that I forgot to mention about staying positive, is that I try to take as much responsibility for myself, and I try to control only what I can control, which is myself.
Yes.
So therefore, instead of being upset about whatever happened, XYZ, I shift my mind just to like, okay, was this in my control? What is this in my scope of control? If not, then what can I do to change that? And the bottom line always comes to be, I can only change myself and my attitude.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for mentioning that. So it's all about what we can control and what we can't control. So there's some things in life that we just can't control. I have a really good friend of mine by the name of Denzel, and I actually wanted to invite him on, but he has cerebral palsy and he's a motivational speaker. And he cannot control the fact that he has cerebral palsy, but he does control his attitude and how he looks at life and how he wants to impact people. So that was a great point. And number 8, give yourself credit. I don't think we give ourselves enough credit. We do these, we're always down on ourselves. We're critical of ourselves. We self-judge ourselves, but give yourself credit to where you are right now. I mean, I know we all have our dreams and we want to get married and we want to have this, we want to have that, but just give yourself credit. Say, great job, Chris. Great job, Nicole. And then number 9, forgive yourself. If you make a mistake, forgive yourself. I believe that we beat up on ourselves too much. If you are on this weight loss journey and you have a cheat meal, don't beat up on yourself, because it's going to hit you mentally. And then before you know it, you're going to be out the game all completely. And number 10, learn from the past. You have to learn from your past so you don't repeat the same mistakes. I always say that if you want new results, then you have to do new things. You can't keep doing the same things. And that's something I have to tell myself, Chris, you can't keep doing the same thing over and over and expect to get different results. Number 11, remember things could get worse. We know that life can get worse. I mean, some of us were in some pretty bad situations, but the reality is that we're alive. And I think I'm going to go back to what you was talking about, Nicole, being thankful. So being healthy and well is being thankful of what you have. I know we are all inspiring to have more, but just be thankful for where you are in this present moment. And number 12, think of it as an opportunity. So every day that you get up, every single day you get up, think of life as an opportunity to be better, to have more, to take your life to the next level, to grow mentally, spiritually, physically. So when you get up in the morning, just say, I'm thankful to be here. I'm alive. I have an opportunity to seize the day. See, that's what life is all about. That's health. That's wellness. It's just being thankful. Say, listen, yesterday didn't go well, but today is going to be my day. It goes back to those words of affirmation. Come up with ideas of how to turn negative thoughts into positive thoughts. So if you find yourself starting to think negative, how do you turn those negative thoughts into positive thoughts? Growth.
They just piggyback to the part where I mentioned, I look at situations, how does it help me grow? What am I here to learn? And if you keep that kind of mindset, then it kind of helps you put things in a different perspective. And from that way, you can take whatever is negative and say, hey, this happened. What am I supposed to learn from this situation? How is this going to help me become a better person? What am I supposed to be strengthening? And so.
Excellent. I love it, because we're not meant to be perfect. We're all going to make mistakes, right? I mean, that's just how it is. And you shouldn't even want to be perfect. I don't want to be perfect. I know I have this perfection mindset, but I want to make mistakes, because when we make mistakes, we learn. We can't look at when unfortunate things happen. I don't look at it as being negative. We have to learn how to find the positive in everything that we go through. Everything. All right, let me finish up here. So work on visualization. Like, can you see it? So if you see it, then you will believe it. So I like to do creative imaging at least 10 minutes a day, where I'll sit somewhere quiet. I will close my eyes for 10 minutes and I'm going to visualize my dreams, my goals. I want to see myself accomplishing those goals. A vision board. If you don't have a vision board, I highly suggest put up a vision board. If you don't have goals, have your goals written out. Because we like things that are tangible. You ever heard that saying, out of sight, out of mind? So you know you break up with somebody and then you don't see them and then you forget about it, right?
You throw away everything, like,
right,
all the pictures you can throw away.
I'm sure like all my exes, I'm sure they like, Chris, who? Did I date him? No. Out of sight, out of mind. So it's important to make sure that if you have goals, make sure you visualize them. And we hear that all the time from the motivational speakers, you know, how they've gotten to that level of success. And I believe it. For the longest, I have goals, but I didn't have them written down. So write your goals down, get a vision board, and then be able to visualize where you want to be, where you see yourself in the next 3 to 5 years. Then number 15, think of ways to turn visualization into action. So we can't just visualize accomplishing a goal. How are we going to turn that into an action? So if I want to get healthier for 2018, I'm going to visualize it. But then what steps am I going to take? What's the plan of action? I mean, I know we can't just set out to do something without having some type of course of direction. So visualize it and then have a plan to attack it. And then number 15, list the reasons you will get what you want. Like list the reasons. List the reasons you will get what you want. Just list them. All right. So I like to say this as I finish up here. We all have to have a why. Why do you get up in the morning? Why do you go to work? Why do you want to get healthy? Why do you want to work on your personal growth and development? Because if you have a why, then you're going to stay in the game. And so it doesn't matter where you are. We can all advance, but we just have to have a reason to do it. And we have to have the will to do it. And we have to be open to life. Because I've learned if we're not open to life, then we shut doors, we close doors. And those doors that we were meant to go through, we don't go through them because we're not open to the idea.
Yeah, I like that. Open.
So we got to be open. Life is about being open, right? Enjoy life. Be open. And just remember this. I know it's nothing new, but life is unpredictable.
Very.
And so when I talk to my buddy Denzel, he always tells me, he's like, Chris, I don't know what's going to come tomorrow. I might not wake up in the morning. That's the true reality. So the time that we have now, let's enjoy it. Let's grow. Let's develop. Let's put a plan of action. And let's achieve those goals. Yes. So as we finish up, do you have any words of encouragement, any final words?
No, I like your wrap up very well. I like the points that you laid out. It was it was on point. His points were on point.
Yeah. Well, listen, and if any of y'all have a compelling story that you want to share, email me. I love interviewing people that demonstrate some type of form of mind, body, and spirit, or if someone has overcome some major challenges, because we all have a story to be told, and some of us don't get that opportunity. But I want to provide that opportunity for people that are willing to do it. I mean, you never know who you can impact. Hopefully by us having this Facebook Live, maybe it's one person that we touched, if it's just one, right? So we can't get caught up in the numbers. I know we all want to be able to impact 1 million people, but the reality is all of us probably won't. Some of us will, but my philosophy is if I can just impact just one person, I feel like my purpose of doing this today has been fulfilled. So again, if you have a testimonial that you would like to share, or if you're in the Atlanta area and you want to be interviewed, please reach out to me. I mean, I love compelling stories. It's really difficult to get people behind the camera because they get a little nervous, but we have to think of it as, how can we impact? How can I impact you? We got to put that fear to the side, right? We got to get out our comfort zone, so that we can leave a legacy. So when I die, and I say this all the time, I want y'all to say, you remember that guy, Chris Milton? Yeah, you remember he was doing that little Project Health and Wellness thing? Doing those interviews? Man, I really appreciate that. I mean, he left his legacy and he's trying to make a change. So again, if you want to email me at chris@projecthealthandwellness.com if you are interested. in being interviewed and maybe just sitting down and talking about, how ways that you can impact the world, please feel free to reach out to me. And again, if y'all want to come out to the South Fulton Running Partners Run, they can go to...
you can go on Facebook. You can search for South Fulton Running Partners, and you'll see our webpage on there. And just join and then follow up, and then you can send a message. Or you can email membership.sfrpatlanta@yahoo.com, and you can get in contact with us that way too.
Excellent. So if y'all are in the process of this new year and want to get in shape and want to be around just a great group of individuals that are inspiring to me. I mean, we have members that are like 70 years old that are running like 7-minute miles.
Yes.
Like 7-minute miles.
They're phenomenal. It's very inspirational. You go out and you see them like, wow, you are killing me.
Right,
It's
right.
like, man, I need to get out here more often. And they will encourage you to get out here, and they'll encourage you to keep up with your fitness. But it's very important, and it's just like I said, it's amazing to see them out there, and they're fast.
Yeah, but just remember, we all got to start somewhere, right? So they didn't just happen overnight.
No, it's continual progression. It's years. Like some people have been running for 20 plus years. And it's just staying consistent is the most important thing about it.
I said it one more time. Just one more time. One more time before we conclude. What's that word?
Consistency.
Consistency, right? Mm-hmm. So if we want to be successful in anything that we do in life, we have to be consistent. Thank you so much for everyone that tuned in. So my goal is to be able to do a live video every Saturday. If I can find someone to interview, to have a compelling story to share. So if you do, email me at chris@projecthealthandwellness.com. Have a great and excellent remainder of the day. Yes. I hope that these words were able to encourage you and to lift you and to be proactive in your life. Whatever you're going through, I want you all to stay strong, stay focused, stay faithful, stay encouraged, and just more importantly, stay consistent. So whatever you do, just make sure you're doing it over and over. God bless, and until next time, this is Chris Milton, Nicole, from Project Health and Wellness. Y'all take care.